Imagine a town called Oakhaven, where the houses were big and the lawns were always green. In this town lived Judge Thompson, a man known for his fancy suits and important decisions. He lived in a huge house all by himself. People thought he was a good man, a pillar of the community. He donated to charities and always seemed to know the right thing to say. But Judge Thompson had a secret. He was lonely. He missed having a family, someone to share his big house with. He watched other families in Oakhaven laughing and playing in their yards and wished he had that too. One day, Judge Thompson visited the Oakhaven orphanage. He walked through the quiet halls, looking at the children playing games and reading books. He saw all their faces. That's when he saw Lily. She was small and quiet, but her eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness. She was drawing a picture of a bird. In that moment, Judge Thompson knew his life was about to change. He decided to adopt Lily and give her a life she could only dream of. He had no idea that Lily would eventually uncover secrets he desperately wanted to keep hidden. Lily lived in a small room at the orphanage. It wasn't a bad place, but it wasn't home. She shared her room with 3 other girls, and they all had to take turns using the small mirror to brush their hair. Lily didn't have many toys, but she had a box of crayons and a stack of paper. She loved to draw. She drew pictures of birds, flowers, and sometimes even houses that looked like castles. The other children at the orphanage saw Lily as quiet and kind. She always helped with chores and never complained. But inside, Lily was brave and curious. She dreamed of having a real family and a place to call her own. She often wondered what it would be like to have someone tuck her into bed at night and read her a story. When Judge Thompson first saw Lily, he noticed her gentle smile and the way she focused intently on her drawing. He saw a spark in her eyes, a sign of intelligence and resilience. He knew that she was special. Lily, on the other hand, was wary but hopeful. She had seen adults come and go at the orphanage, promising to return but never doing so. She hoped Judge Thompson would be different. She hoped he would see her not just as an orphan, but as a person. The day Lily moved into Judge Thompson's house was like stepping into a dream. The car ride seemed to last forever, winding through streets lined with towering trees and perfectly manicured gardens. When they finally arrived, Lily gasped. The house was enormous, bigger than anything she had ever imagined. It had tall white columns, sparkling windows, and a huge green lawn that seemed to stretch on forever. A kind woman named Mrs. Peterson, who managed the house, greeted them at the door. She smiled warmly at Lily and led her inside. Lily's eyes widened as she took in the grand foyer, with its marble floors and a sweeping staircase. Everything was shiny and new. Mrs. Peterson showed Lily to her room. It was painted a soft pink and filled with brand new furniture. There was a big bed with fluffy pillows, a desk with a lamp, and a closet filled with clothes in every color. Lily had never owned so many clothes before. There were even toys and books waiting for her on a shelf. Lily felt overwhelmed with gratitude. She thanked Judge Thompson and Mrs. Peterson, her voice barely a whisper. This was more than she could have ever hoped for. She was finally home, or so she thought. That first night, Lily couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft, the room too quiet. She missed the familiar sounds of the orphanage. She crept out of bed, drawn by a faint light coming from downstairs. She tiptoed down the grand staircase, her bare feet silent on the marble. She saw Judge Thompson in his study, a room filled with bookshelves and dark wooden furniture. He was talking on the phone, his voice low and serious. Lily couldn't make out all the words, but she heard him say, "The deal has to go through. I can't afford any slip-ups. Remember what's at stake." His tone was sharp, nothing like the kind voice he used with her. A shiver ran down Lily's spine. She felt like she had stumbled upon something she wasn't supposed to see. She quickly retreated back to her room, her heart pounding in her chest. She tried to convince herself that she had misunderstood, that it was just a business call. But the uneasiness lingered. It was a tiny crack in the perfect image of Judge Thompson, a crack that would eventually widen and reveal the darkness hidden beneath. That night, the dream began to feel a little less real. Years flew by like pages turning in a book. Lily blossomed into a bright, and beautiful young woman. Judge Thompson provided her with the best education, sending her to a prestigious private school. She excelled in her studies, making friends and exploring her interests. She took piano lessons, joined the debate club, and volunteered at the local animal shelter. Judge Thompson seemed proud of her accomplishments, showering her with gifts and praise. But as Lily grew older, she noticed a change in him. He became more controlling, wanting to know her every move. He disapproved of certain friends and activities, insisting that she focus solely on her studies. He started making decisions for her, choosing her classes and dictating her schedule. Lily felt like she was living in a gilded cage. The luxury that once seemed so wonderful now felt suffocating. The memory of that phone call lingered in the back of her mind, fueling her growing suspicion. She knew, deep down, that Judge Thompson was hiding something, and she was determined to find out what it was. The grateful orphan was slowly transforming into a determined investigator. One afternoon, while Judge Thompson was away on a business trip, Lily decided to explore the house. She had always been curious about the locked door at the end of the hallway on the second floor. Mrs. Peterson had always told her it was just a storage room, but Lily suspected there was more to it than that. Using a hairpin, Lily managed to pick the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a small, windowless room. Dust motes danced in the dim light filtering in from the hallway. The room was filled with old filing cabinets and boxes. It was clearly not just a storage room. As Lily began to sift through the files, she discovered documents detailing Judge Thompson's corrupt dealings. There were letters, bank statements, and photographs, all pointing to a web of blackmail and illegal activities. She learned that Judge Thompson had made his fortune by exploiting the secrets of powerful people. The evidence was overwhelming. Lily felt a wave of nausea wash over her. The man she had trusted, the man who had given her everything, was a fraud. The dream was officially over. Now began the nightmare. The more Lily investigated, the clearer the picture became. Judge Thompson wasn't just a respected judge. He was a master manipulator. He had built his fortune and power by preying on the vulnerabilities of others. He collected damaging information about powerful figures, politicians, businessmen, even other judges, and used it to control them. Lily discovered that he had been blackmailing the mayor for years, forcing him to approve shady development projects. She found evidence of him manipulating court cases in his favor, ensuring that his wealthy friends always won. And she learned that he had even driven a local business owner to bankruptcy after the man refused to pay him protection money. The sheer scale of Judge Thompson's corruption was staggering. Lily realized that he wasn't just hurting a few individuals. He was poisoning the entire community. He had created a system of fear and control where no one dared to challenge him. But Lily knew she couldn't stand by and let him continue to ruin lives. She had to find a way to stop him, even if it meant risking everything. She now understood the true price of the luxury she had been given. It was silence, bought with the suffering of others. Lily felt torn. Judge Thompson had raised her, given her a life she never thought possible. He had been, in many ways, a father to her. But now she knew the truth. He was a criminal, a danger to society. Could she betray him? Could she bring down the man who had taken her in? The internal conflict raged within her. One part of her wanted to protect him, to deny the evidence, to pretend she hadn't seen anything. The other part, the stronger part, knew that she had a moral obligation to act. Justice demanded it. The people he had hurt deserved it. And deep down, Lily knew that if she didn't do something, she would never be able to live with herself. She thought about the orphans she had left behind at the orphanage. What kind of message would she be sending them if she turned a blind eye to injustice? What kind of person would she be if she prioritized loyalty over what was right? The decision was agonizing, but ultimately, Lily knew what she had to do. She would expose Judge Thompson, no matter the personal cost. The quiet orphan was gone. In her place stood a woman ready to fight for justice. Lily knew that taking down Judge Thompson would be a dangerous undertaking. He was a powerful man with connections and resources. She couldn't just walk into the police station with a stack of papers and expect them to believe her. She needed to gather irrefutable evidence, something that would stand up in court and convince even his most loyal allies. So, she began to secretly copy files from the hidden room, carefully documenting every piece of incriminating information. She used her knowledge of the house and Judge Thompson's habits to her advantage, sneaking around when he was away or asleep. She learned how to use a scanner and a printer, creating digital copies of the documents and storing them on a secure, encrypted drive. It was a nerve-wracking process, filled with constant fear of discovery. Every creak in the floorboards, every unexpected phone call sent her heart racing. She knew that if Judge Thompson found out what she was doing, he would stop at nothing to silence her. But she couldn't let fear paralyze her. She had come too far to turn back now. She was armed with the truth, and she was ready to fight. The hunter had become the hunted. One evening, Lily was in the hidden room, carefully scanning a document detailing a bribe Judge Thompson had accepted. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching. Her heart leaped in her throat. It was Judge Thompson. He was home early. She quickly shut down the scanner and shoved the document back into its file. There was no time to hide the evidence or escape. She had to think fast. She grabbed a book from a nearby shelf and pretended to be reading. Judge Thompson opened the door, his eyes narrowed. "Lily, what are you doing in here?" he asked, his voice laced with suspicion. Lily tried to appear calm, but her hands were trembling. "Oh, I was just looking for a book to read," she stammered, holding up the dusty volume. "Mrs. Peterson said this used to be a library." Judge Thompson studied her intently, his gaze piercing. He didn't seem convinced. He stepped into the room, his eyes scanning the shelves. Lily held her breath, praying he wouldn't notice anything out of place. He walked to the desk, his eyes falling on the scanner. For a moment, Lily thought she was caught. But then, he simply sighed and said, "This room is off limits, Lily. I don't want you coming in here again. Do you understand?" Lily nodded quickly, relieved. "Yes, Judge Thompson." He turned and left the room, closing the door behind him. Lily leaned against the wall, her legs weak. That was too close. She knew she had to be more careful. He was watching her. After the close call, Lily knew she couldn't continue working alone. She needed help, someone she could trust, someone who understood the law and could guide her through the complexities of exposing Judge Thompson. She thought of Ms. Evans, her old debate coach from school. Ms. Evans was a brilliant lawyer with a strong sense of justice. Lily had always admired her sharp intellect and unwavering integrity. She decided to confide in her. With a trembling voice, Lily told Ms. Evans everything about the hidden room, the blackmail scheme, and the evidence she had collected. Ms. Evans listened intently, her expression growing more serious with each revelation. When Lily finished, Ms. Evans was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Lily, this is incredibly dangerous, but I believe you, and I'm going to help you." Ms. Evans advised her on how to protect herself, how to securely store the evidence, and how to approach the authorities. She also warned Lily about the potential consequences, the smear campaigns, and the legal challenges that lay ahead. But Lily was undeterred. With Ms. Evans by her side, she felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. She was no longer alone in her fight. The quiet orphan now had a powerful ally. The day Lily and Ms. Evans presented the evidence to the authorities was the most nerve-wracking day of Lily's life. They met with a team of investigators from the State Attorney General's office, laying out their case with meticulous detail. They presented the copied files, the bank statements, and the photographs, each piece of evidence painting a damning picture of Judge Thompson's corruption. As the investigators reviewed the evidence, Lily could see the shock and disbelief on their faces. They had always known Judge Thompson as a respected figure in the community. It was hard for them to imagine that he was capable of such crimes. Finally, the lead investigator looked at Lily and said, "Ms. Thompson, this is a very serious accusation. We need to be absolutely certain about this. Are you prepared to testify in court?" Lily took a deep breath and met his gaze. "Yes," she said firmly. "I am. I'm ready to tell the truth, no matter what the consequences." That afternoon, Judge Thompson was arrested at his courthouse. News of his arrest spread like wildfire through Oakhaven, sending shockwaves through the community. The man who had once been revered was now facing charges of blackmail, corruption, and obstruction of justice. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown. The truth was about to be revealed. The trial of Judge Thompson was a media frenzy. Reporters from all over the country descended on Oakhaven, eager to cover the sensational story. The courtroom was packed every day, filled with onlookers, victims, and supporters of both sides. Judge Thompson, now stripped of his power and prestige, sat at the defense table, his face a mask of anger and defiance. He refused to admit any wrongdoing, claiming that he was the victim of a conspiracy. When Lily took the stand, the courtroom fell silent. She testified calmly and confidently, recounting her discovery of the hidden room, her investigation into Judge Thompson's activities, and the evidence she had gathered. But during cross-examination, Judge Thompson's lawyer launched a vicious attack on Lily's character. He brought up her past as an orphan, suggesting that she was motivated by greed and resentment. He even hinted that she had fabricated the evidence in order to inherit Judge Thompson's wealth. Then, Judge Thompson himself took the stand. He looked directly at Lily and said, "You are nothing, Lily. I took you in, gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? By betraying me." His words were like a slap in the face. Lily felt a pang of guilt, but she knew she had to stand her ground. The truth was on her side. Despite the relentless attacks on her character, Lily refused to be intimidated. She knew that Judge Thompson was trying to manipulate the situation to paint her as a villain in order to distract from his own crimes. But she wouldn't let him. "It's true that I grew up in an orphanage," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But that doesn't make me any less worthy of justice. And it doesn't change the fact that Judge Thompson is a criminal." Ms. Evans then presented her own evidence, corroborating Lily's testimony and dismantling Judge Thompson's defense. She called witnesses who testified about the judge's corrupt dealings, about the lives he had ruined, and about the fear he had instilled in the community. The turning point came when Ms. Evans introduced a hidden recording of Judge Thompson admitting to blackmailing the mayor. The recording, which Lily had secretly made, was irrefutable proof of his guilt. As the recording played in the courtroom, Judge Thompson's face turned ashen. He knew that it was over. He had been exposed. The carefully constructed facade he had built was crumbling before his eyes. The truth, like a powerful light, had finally pierced the darkness. His betrayal of Lily and of the community was complete. The jury deliberated for days, weighing the evidence and considering the testimony. The tension in Oakhaven was palpable. Everyone waited with bated breath for the verdict. Finally, the jury reached a decision. The foreman stood and read the verdict aloud. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Judge Thompson, guilty on all counts." A gasp swept through the courtroom. Judge Thompson's face crumpled. His reign of terror was over. Justice had been served. Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had done it. She had taken down a powerful and corrupt man, and she had done it with honesty and courage. As Judge Thompson was led away in handcuffs, he looked at Lily one last time, his eyes filled with hatred and regret. Lily met his gaze, her expression unwavering. She knew that she had made the right decision, even though it had been the hardest thing she had ever done. She had not only brought down a criminal, but she had also freed a community from fear and oppression. She had shown them that even the most powerful individuals are not above the law. And she had proven that even a quiet orphan can make a difference in the world. The strength she found within herself was the key to everything. With Judge Thompson behind bars, Oakhaven began to heal. The powerful people he had blackmailed came forward, eager to tell their stories and reclaim their lives. The businesses he had destroyed were rebuilt, stronger than before. The community learned a valuable lesson about the importance of justice and the power of courage. As for Lily, she became a local hero. People admired her bravery and her unwavering commitment to what was right. She used the money she inherited from Judge Thompson's estate to start a foundation for orphans, providing them with education, support, and a loving home. She also became an advocate for victims of corruption, speaking out against injustice and inspiring others to stand up for what they believe in. She traveled the world, sharing her story and encouraging young people to find their voice and use it for good. Lily had finally found her true purpose. She had transformed her own pain and suffering into something positive, creating a lasting legacy of hope and redemption. The little orphan who had once dreamed of family had not only found one, but had also created one for countless others. She had discovered that true wealth lies not in luxury, but in service to others. The end of Judge Thompson's empire marked the beginning of Lily's. Years later, Lily returned to the Oakhaven orphanage, not as a resident, but as a visitor. She walked through the familiar halls, greeted by the smiling faces of the children. She saw herself in their eyes, the same hope, the same resilience, the same quiet strength. She spent the afternoon reading stories to the children, drawing pictures with them, and listening to their dreams. She told them her own story, not just about the luxury and the betrayal, but about the courage and the redemption. She wanted them to know that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. As she left the orphanage that evening, Lily looked back at the building, a warm feeling spreading through her heart. She had come full circle. She had started her life in this humble place, and she had now returned to give back to those who were just like her. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid. She had faced her demons and emerged stronger than ever. She had found her purpose, her peace, and her true family. And she knew that as long as she continued to fight for justice and help those in need, her life would be filled with meaning and joy. The end.